I've got a confession to make. I totally fancy Haley Steinfeld, you guys. Alright, so every single bloody Disney Plus Marvel show explores some form of trauma. WandaVision explored how trauma impacts the relationship between memory and imagination. Falcon and the Winter Soldier examined historical and collective trauma, from American race relations to global tragedies. Loki told a love story about how healing from trauma means building a healthier self-image. Hawkeye, guess what? Deals with PTSD.
Wow.
By the way, I totally didn't plan for this. In fact, I revised a bunch of stuff on Irving Goffman's persona theory, hoping it'd relate to Hawkeye's identity and how it's shared between Clint and Kate. But then 5 minutes in, I'm like, fuck. Kate Bishop's father dies during the Battle of New York, but out of that pain comes one piece of usable memory: Hawkeye's badassery. Therefore, a continuity is constructed out of her trauma. Kate's desire to be a protector, as her father espoused and exemplified with Clint.
What would you do in a hurricane?
Protect you.
I need a bow and arrow.
While in contrast, Clint is now suffering from PTSD, triggered by seeing Nat during the Rogers musical. As a result, his continuity is his family. However, his celebrity status undermines it. From toilet selfies to free food,
Oh no, that's not necessary.
You're safe in our city.
there's no escaping from the pain and the mundanity of being a father. As Tetsuya Mulasari Sukasai and Hariono argued, the negative impacts may occur to people with post-traumatic stress disorder or bad temper, loss of concentration, loss of interest in interacting with the environment, insomnia, feelings of being alienated from others, and having nightmares. Therefore, if Clint doesn't treat his PTSD symptoms, mainly loss of concentration, it can lead to permanent damage and interference in his social/working life.
I just want to come out for some fresh air is all.
This is where Kate comes in. She gets into trouble with her mom's new fiancé's criminal's activities and ends up in Clint's Ronin costume. Her crazy fighting ability, by the way, is explained and depicted in the David Arja-styled intro, because she was trained since she was 5 years old, like an orthodox Batman. As a result, Clint intervenes and is implicitly made to take ownership of his past, symbolized by his need to retrieve the Ronin costume.
Who the hell are you?
I'm Kate Bishop.
You're a kid.
Barton and Bishop immediately develop a father/daughter relationship, as opposed to the big brother/roommate vibe from Fractions Run, because MCU Clint is an actual dad.
You did it all wrong. Let me fix it.
By the way, I should also note, seeing Kate's apartment looking exactly like Clint's in Fractions Run is cool, but really fucked with my head. Although I did love how Lucky and the Tracksuit Draculas are in the show, so that's pretty dope. Clint is a dude who passionlessly lives his life, from spy stuff to dad stuff, to the extent that his hearing aid is literally a symbol for such disconnect. He often misses what's happening around him because of a pain he lost track of from the past.
And to be clear, not because I want you, just because I need you.
However, Kate subconsciously breathes life into his legacy, which he avoided processing by highlighting the inspirational value of his brand.
What am I selling? Halloween costumes or toys off the shelf?
Inspiration, Clint.
Similarly, the fireman who took his Ronin costume to do a live-action role-playing game gets him to also play along and notice the positive side of his persona.
You're a superhero in real life. This is as close as I'm ever gonna get to being one.
He finds it weird because he's got that super dad energy, but this is ultimately all good for him, because for Clint, these interactions forces him to reassociate himself with his own identity. So he no longer feels unprotected from disturbances and has to reactivate his social skills and build connections, live his life properly.
Oh yeah, I'm Grills.
Nice to meet you, girls.
His skits don't really work in this area because he uses them to hide himself, and he doesn't really know how to live his life quite yet because he only knows how to answer their lives.
Okay, and we're gonna fill it with a lot of Christmas activities. What's your favorite one?
Anyways, he's got 5 days to get back to them for Christmas. His daughter is particularly vexed, which I found very irritating, because at least you have a dad. Kate knows something is up with step douche. Clint lets himself get kidnapped, but Kate ruins it.
I was just trying to help, okay?
Don't talk.
Hawkeye episode 1 and 2 is about showing Clint's various PTSD symptoms and show how Kate in New York can help him confront them, where he must open up and see past his pain by seeing himself and his legacy not through his own biased eyes but through theirs, so he's no longer fixated nor re-experiencing the same pain again and again and again and again, a feeling that has come to own his Hawkeye persona and identity. And I thought it was alright. I loved Haley Steinfeld, even though I thought the dialogue was a bit sort of generically witty. I really liked Jeremy Renner, although I was a bit saddened by how the show didn't really adapt the 70s style from Fraction's run. And for a show about Marvel's best archers, it felt strangely aimless at times in terms of pacing. But hey ho, maybe the pacing will improve later on when Yelena and Echo appear. At least it left me optimistic. This is a story about a man confronting the pain that owns a part of him, a part that he needs to learn to love in order to be whole again, and that's oddly fitting for a Christmas story. So I'm making these MCU episode analysis shorter so I don't burn myself out, and to avoid just sort of summarizing what happened in the episode for the majority of the essay, which is what happened with the bloody Loki episode analyses. So I hope you enjoyed it anyways. I certainly had a better time making these, and special thanks to everyone on Patreon.
You meant everything to me.